Disclaimer Chatters, I'm Nat.
And I'm Kat, and welcome to the Crime Chat Season 4! I'm your forensic femme fatale, as always, and Natalie is your true crimatic connoisseur.
We're just two normal girls who obsess about dark crimes, evil minds, and occasionally the unknown.
And here's your disclaimer chatters. The following crime chat contains adult content and descriptions of potentially violent, spooky, dark scenarios today. So your listener discretion is advised.
Yes, you have been warned. And as usual, before we get into our crime chat today, Kat, what have you done?
Well, we are at Season 4. Can you believe it?
I know. I'm crazy.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
So we've had a little break, and I've been doing a little traveling. Been to Arizona. I saw you. And I've got a cruise coming up. I'll be home from the cruise by the time this comes out. But I'm not in school and I'm not teaching right now. So I'm like, what am I going to do with my hands? What am I going to do with my time? So when I was in Arizona, me, Chris, my brother, Josh, I got in trouble for saying Joshua.
Did he listen to the episode?
He listened to the
Okay.
episode. Yes. Josh. And then my sister-in-law. We watched a movie called Blink Twice. Have you heard of it?
I have. I don't know if I've seen it, though. I'm not sure. Like, it's not coming to me. Is it a new movie? Is it out?
Yes.
Okay, so I haven't seen it.
It's in theaters, I think, and maybe just now starting to stream, but it's got Channing Tatum in it. Yeah. And on the video, it's like him taking a picture with a old school Polaroid. So it was really good.
Was it?
It was really good. Yeah. And that there's not really. Oh, who else was in it? Christian Slater.
Oh, okay. How does he look these days? Good.
He's aged.
He always reminded me
he's aged elegantly.
He did. Okay, because he always reminded me of like. You know how some celebrities kind of look like older celebrities, like almost like they're like a newer version of them? He always reminded me of Jack Nicholson. I'm like, all right, he's like the newer, hipper version of a Jack Nicholson. He's got like the same
Aging-wise,
eyes.
honestly, he's probably looks better than Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, no, definitely better looking. But he has that vibe, that Jack Nicholson vibe.
Haley Joel Osment. I know the name sounds familiar.
Okay.
I see dead people.
That is Sixth Sense. What about her?
Yeah.
What about it?
Well, he was in it, but he's, of course, like an adult now.
He did not age well. He is not nearly as cute as he once was.
He has a lot of the same facial features, but one of the coolest things is that it was written and directed by Zoe Kravitz.
I love her.
Yes.
Love her.
Yes. So that, and then on the plane ride back, I watched the movie The Watchers. Spooky movie.
Is that the one with the house?
You're thinking Watcher or The Watcher, but it's The Watchers.
Okay.
Dakota Fanning is the primary character in it.
Okay.
I didn't really recognize anybody else in it, but that was also extremely good.
Yeah? Okay.
Little plot twist at the end.
Okay.
Like, not see that coming.
Yeah, check that out.
And then the last thing is, since I've been home, my sister-in-law recommended it, and she's like, you've got to watch this show. It's called Grotesquerie.
Okay.
It's on FX. It's made by and written by the same Ryan Murphy, the one that did American Horror Story.
Yeah.
And there's only 4 episodes out now, and I'm going to tell you, watch it.
Really? FX?
Yes.
Okay.
It gets, like, there's just enough what the fuck.
Really?
And really good. Like, there's just enough in it where I'm just like, that is so good.
All right.
Like, all together.
Those are really good recommendations. I gotta check that out.
Yeah. Oh, Travis Kelce is in it.
Travis Kelce is... Oh, that's Swift's
the
boyfriend.
Kansas City Chiefs. Yeah. And then Niecy Nash is the lead character.
Okay.
You might not recognize her name. I didn't recognize the name, but like her face, I absolutely recognize her face.
Okay.
Yeah. Really, really, really good. And I text my sister-in-law back, and I finished I binged it actually just yesterday. I binged all 4 episodes. So I text her after I was done, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it is one of those, and this is why I usually just binge.
Right.
And I don't like wait for weekly episodes to come out because I want to watch it right then and there. And I was like, why do I have to wait? Like, it was crazy. It was really, really, really good. So I hope it comes back for another season because it does give you American Horror Story vibes,
Mm-hmm.
where that's just enough, like a good enough story, but also a level of what the fuck at the same time.
A lot of what the fuck, yeah.
Yeah. So I've been busy. I've been doing things, and I'm ready for season 4, though. I'm so excited. We've got good stuff coming up. But what about you?
Okay, so I told you I was watching like these weird walkthrough games on YouTube for like horror games and stuff like that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm interested enough to give it a try. So I went to GameStop. I bought a PlayStation 5 and I asked them, I'm like, listen, I told them, I'm like, I like true crime. Okay. I want something that's horror related. I don't want to be fighting people. I don't want to be fighting zombies, but give me like something to run from, or give me like, a little bit of an adventure. And they recommended a game called Until Dawn. And the whole thing is your choices. And it's really freaking good. It's like a movie, Kat. It's like a movie. Really? And you're sitting there and the game is playing out. You're in this like skiing lodge with your 5 friends and people are dying left and right. So it's like a game with the premise is like Saw, the movie Saw.
Oh, yeah.
So every choice you make has like a butterfly effect that affects everybody else. It's the craziest thing. I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't make that. I made that decision 2 days ago, but yet now it's affecting me. So I recommend it.
Butterfly Effect. What a great movie, too.
That was good. What was it? Ashton Kutcher?
Yes.
That was good.
Yes.
So that's basically it. That's all I've been doing. Diving deep on that.
And dodging storms.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. Our hearts are going out. Our hearts are going out to all the victims of the latest storm, Helene. I did get that. I wasn't hit directly, but I did get and it was heavy. It was bad. Like, and I wasn't even in line, like in the footprint of it where it was going directly to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
we had a little tornado, but honestly, you lost power. I didn't even lose power. We had a tornado that was literally down the road. Although when the tornado was going by, the lights were like flickering, but I didn't lose power as far as I know. I mean, it was through the night. It was overnight. So after we got all clear, because Chris's pager was right there, and that's how we knew. It wasn't like we don't have tornado sirens here. Like, we don't. So it was his pager that was going off because there was part of the department. There was a tree on a power line. They were out there cutting the tree off the power line, and they're like, "There's a tornado!" And Chris is like, "Into the hall bath right now! Let's get up, go!"
Seriously, like, what do you like? That's crazy. Like, you have to go to interior room or your basement.
We don't have basements here.
You don't. Neither do we. We're screwed.
Well, you wouldn't. Why would you?
Might as well climb up a tree.
If you had a basement there, you'd be digging into the Everglades.
I know. At this point, I might as well just walk out and be like, what? Go away, tornado. Scoot on by.
Scooch.
But that's it.
Yeah, it was, Well, we have so much in store for season 4. Hey, that rhymes. And we have a theme, again. And our theme this year is called Into the Unknown. Yes. We'll cover this topic today and then into our bonus episodes throughout the season, and then as well as our season 4 finale.
Yes, this is going to be fun. So in these episodes, we'll be obsessing over the unknown. This season includes unsolved crimes, dark mysteries, eerie locations, and the supernatural. As always, chatters, let us know what unknown stories you'd like to share with us so we can cover those as well.
We would love to cover those. And for today, shall we kick it off and dive into the unknown?
Yes. Okay. So, Kat,
cheers to season 4.
Cheers. Clink, 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 clink. I think our stories today, even though I did not go over your story, we both have one thing in common, which is it's in Massachusetts, both of our stories, right?
Yes.
Mine is definitely a lot earlier than yours.
Yeah. Well, is it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is. Sorry.
Okay, so today we're going to dive into the life of Captain Joseph White, a predominant figure in Salem, Massachusetts, whose ultimate death in 1830 led to one of the most sensational murder trials in American history. Now, before we explore his story, let's step back in time and immerse ourselves in the world of Salem in the late 18th century.
Yes.
Salem, Massachusetts was established in 1626. Salem derives from the Hebrew word shalom, meaning peace.
Aw, and they burned all those people there.
I know, right? Hypocrisy is, oh my God, palpable. So imagine walking through the cobblestone streets of Salem, Massachusetts. The salty breeze from the Atlantic Ocean carries the rich aromas of exotic spices. teas, and molasses, which reminded me of the Yankee Candle Shop. I mean,
oh yes,
that's all you smell is maple syrup. That's it. It's like the one candle took it over.
Yeah.
The harbor skyline is full of tall ships crowded with merchants haggling for the best price over exotic cargoes, and a social meeting place for sailors to tell tall tales of their adventures on the high seas. Salem, once overshadowed by the grim legacy of the 1692 witch trials, it's now a thriving hub of international trade. The grand federal-style mansions lining Chestnut and Essex streets are testaments to its wealth. Yet the strict moral codes of the Puritanism,
Yep.
Puritanism. Just the guy with the hat. It's a weird hat.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So I'm only thinking Wednesday. Like right now, as you're telling the story, I'm thinking Wednesday. What's the guy that was in charge?
Which one? The one from Netflix or the one from...
Yeah, the one from Netflix, the TV show Wednesday. Did you ever watch it?
Oh, yes.
With Jenna Ortega? Yeah. And the guy who comes back, because Christina Ricci plays the bad guy. I can't think of his name. It's Quincy or something like that. But that, as you're telling the story, like I'm picturing Captain, was his name John Smith, as that guy from the Wednesday TV show.
That's actually a good reference point because that's exactly what they all looks like back then with the hats and stuff. So by day, the town is alive with industry, shipbuilders, rope makers, artisans, contributing to Salem's prosperity. By night, the glow of a whale oil lamp casts shadows on the streets with families gathered around hearths, sharing stories that blend history and superstition. It's a place where progress meets tradition. They both coexist.
Okay.
Joseph White was born on August 7th, 1747. The White family was well established in Salem, with roots tracing back to the early colonial period. His father, John White, was a successful merchant, and his mother, Elizabeth White, came from a respected family and were devout to the Puritan faith. My God, that's my last name, too. I wonder if there's any relation.
White. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
As a child, Joseph was intelligent and inquisitive. He showed an aptitude for mathematics and navigation, skills essential for a future of maritime trade. His education was a combination of formal and practical experience. He spent countless hours at the docks, absorbing knowledge about ships, cargoes, and commerce. He had hands-on training.
Oh, you said docks, and I was thinking doctor, like at the docks. And I was like, oh, D-O-C-K-S.
Although Joseph was born more than 50 years after the Salem witch trials, the events of 1692 were woven into the fabric of the community. The White family, like many old Salem families, had connections to that turbulent period. While there were no records of his direct ancestors being accused or that they were accusers, the lingering guilt and shame played a role in shaping the community's values and Joseph's strict adherence to moral and religious codes.
Okay.
The Puritan emphasized on piety, humility, and communal responsibility. That was the central identity for these people, which is bad, just terrible. I've heard worse. So he was determined to uphold the family's reputation and contribute positively to Salem's legacy, distancing himself from the dark chapters of the past. He sounds like a great guy. There's really nothing wrong with Joseph White. Like he seems like a stand-up individual, family man, hard worker. In his early 20s, Joseph joined his father's business, quickly proving himself a capable trader. He recognized the potential of Salem's port and sought to expand the family's operations. With the end of the American Revolutionary War, new markets opened up, and Joseph invested in ships that traded en routes to the West Indies, Europe, and Asia. So he was just a smart trader. Like he knew that the future kind of may have lied on the other side of the sea.
Okay.
His vessels transported goods like sugar, rum, tea, spices. Joseph was meticulous in his business dealings, fostering relationships with international partners. People. He was a respected businessman. By the early 19th century, he had become one of Salem's most predominant merchants. He built a grand mansion at 128 Essex Street, known today as the Gardner House, which stands as a symbol of his achievements.
Is it what do they call it, like a National Historic Site now? Do you know?
Yes.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In 1777, Joseph married his cousin, Elizabeth White. So maybe I am not related to this clan, okay? This was a common practice back then, especially amongst affluent families that wanted to keep their wealth in the family.
Yeah. Yes.
The couple did not procreate. They did not have children.
Oh, okay.
Joseph, and I don't know why they didn't. I don't know if it was because she couldn't or they that wasn't their thing. But it did become it was spoken about. It did become a problem later on.
Okay.
So Joseph took an active interest in his extended family, particularly in his nieces and his nephews. So he was a father figure to many. Even though he didn't have children, he still tried to mentor people around him. His niece, Mary Beckford, Mary was actually married to a man called Joseph Jenkins Knapp. He was also somebody that Joseph initially supported and mentored during this time. He also provided his family with financial assistance and opportunities. And he also gave Joseph Jenkins Knapp like an opportunity to network, his own business dealings amongst his network. Like he was just helping him out just to kind of, give him a hand up.
Yeah.
However, Joseph's relationships with his relatives were often strained by his strict expectations. He was known for being insistent on discipline and hard work. While he was generous in supporting his family members, he expected loyalty in return. Now, I don't see that being a problem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
Yeah.
Here's a stand-up individual that is not only bringing you in the fold, mentoring you, providing you with financial assistance. All he wants in return is that you're not going to stab him in the back. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
That's
really not that much to ask.
Joseph was an active member of the First Church in Salem. He attended services regularly and contributed to church activities. His faith influenced his personal and professional conduct, emphasizing honesty, diligence, and community service. He was a firm believer in the rule of law and the importance of maintaining social order, values that would become tragically ironic in the light of the events that surrounded his death.
Ooh.
As Joseph grew older, concerns about his estate and legacy became more pressing. Without direct heirs, he focused on drafting a will that would reflect his values and ensure the responsible management of his wealth long after he died. But behind his back, Joseph Jenkins Knapp, his niece's husband, he was in the family by marriage.
Right.
Along with his brother, John Francis Knapp, became increasingly resentful. They believed that they were entitled to a significant portion of Joseph's fortune and were dissatisfied when they heard that they were not directly in the will. So, he would have to stay married to Mary in order to get part of anything, which is normal.
Sure. Yeah. You don't, if you're divorced out of the family, I don't know, it doesn't, you wouldn't get anything. You're not,
So Joseph Jenkins Knapp and John Francis Knapp appeared to be upstanding men, but underneath their respectable facade, the Knapp brothers had dark ambitions. Joe Knapp was described as nervous and easily swayed, a man whose desire for wealth outstripped his moral compass. His younger brother, John, was more calculated and a manipulator and concealed his true nature behind a calm exterior. So financial troubles plagued the brothers. Their lavish spending and poor investments led them into debt. They eyed Captain White's vast fortune as a way to fix their problem, believing that Mary would only be inheriting a certain part of the estate and none of them wouldn't be directly to them.
Right.
They decided that, whatever Mary's cut is not enough for the three of them. So they had to devise a plan. And their plan was to hire a cold-blooded assassin to do their dirty work.
Are they going to kill Mary?
Not saying that. I'm not like, okay. If he would have just waited after Joseph died, Mary gets the money, and then Mary somehow dies.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he would have all the,
because you're not technically out of the family. If you're a widow or widower, you're not technically out of the family. Yeah.
You're in the family. A widower is in the family.
That's right.
A widower is different than when you're divorcee. Like,
Yes.
I don't know.
Yes.
All right. So,
I don't know. That's my twisted thought.
the assassin's name was Richard Krausenshield Jr. His name stirred fear in Salem. Coming from a predominant family, he was a black sheep, a man with a reputation for violence and criminal activities. Tall, with a piercing gaze, he had an aura of darkness. He was cunning, methodical, and utterly devoid of remorse. Sounds like, I don't know, sounds hot. No, it's just joking. Okay, so Crown.
It sounds like the Greenbrier husband, the killer. It sounds like him.
Yes, what's his name again? Shue. Edward Shue.
Edward Shue, yep.
So Crown and Shield, I'm going to call him Richard. Richard agreed to commit the murder for a substantial sum. He began stalking Captain White, studying his habits, getting familiar with his mansion, his comings and goings, and he decided to set a plan. Now, he also had a map of the house given to him by the Knapp brothers, so he knew exactly what door went where, everywhere. And at this point, the plan was set in motion, and there was no turning back. On April 6th, 1830, a quiet spring night, as the town of Salem slept, Richard made his move. Using a key provided by the Knapp brothers, stolen from Captain White's servant, he entered the mansion undetected. Richard moved silently through the darkened halls, his footsteps muffled by the thick carpets. He reached Captain White's bedroom and stood over the sleeping man. Without hesitation, he struck him with a heavy wooden club. Then he stabbed him repeatedly with a dagger to ensure his death. The scene was so gruesome. The blood was, the sheets was stained with the blood, and the blood was pooling down off the bed onto the floor. Richard wiped the weapon clean, left through the same door he entered, and then vanished in the night. The following morning, Captain White's maid discovered his lifeless body. Panic and horror spread quickly. The predominant citizen murdered in his own home. Such a crime was unheard of in Salem. Other than burning people at the stake, I don't guess.
I mean, other than that little thing, I mean,
just saying, the hypocrisy is palpable here. Okay, so
palpable.
The town was gripped by fear and speculation. Who could have committed such a heinous act? Authorities launched an immediate investigation, but initial leads were scarce. There were no signs of forced entry, and nothing appeared stolen. Suspicion began to focus on those closest to Captain White and his family. The critical piece of evidence emerged when a letter was received attempting to divert suspicion away from the Knapp brothers. However, the letter raised more questions than answers and actually basically implicated them. So I looked for this letter. I could not find it. Okay. I know what's in this letter, but apparently it was like somebody calling somebody's cell phone saying, "Hey, are you okay?" Full knowing that they just killed him. Like, are you okay? Trying to
yeah. Like, well, I called and it was a missed call.
Right.
Like, I tried.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they realized that the tower
trying to get an alibi
right near the body. Yeah. So under scrutiny, Joseph Jenkins Knapp confessed to his involvement, revealing the conspiracy. So they shattered. They didn't even immediately. They crumbled, okay, under the stress of the investigation.
Oh my God, I did it. Yes.
I said it. The Knapp brothers had orchestrated the murder in hopes of destroying Joseph's will, believing that without it, they would inherit a larger share of his estate. So I guess they tried to kill him before he executed or finalized his will. That's the whole thing. Then his money would be freely just dispersed within the family.
Okay, because it wouldn't be okay. So it wouldn't be determined. They can be like, well, here's equal amounts to
right.
all.
Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking.
Yeah.
So, and maybe they were trying to get Mary the biggest portion that she possibly could get so they can kill her. You don't know. You don't know what they were thinking afterwards. So I don't know if they really necessarily had a plan B. So they hired Richard to carry out the act. They confessed that, providing him with the detailed information of the house and that, and all of Joseph's routines.
Right.
Now, they also arrested Richard as well. The trial of the Knapp brothers for the murder of Captain Joseph White began on July 20th, 1830. The prosecution enlisted Daniel Webster, a predominant lawyer and statesman who was good at securing convictions. During the trial, the true nature of the Knapp brothers was laid bare. Joe Knapp was portrayed as a weak-willed and easily manipulated, driven by desperation rather than malice. His brother, however, emerged as the mastermind, a cold, calculating individual who orchestrated the plan with chilling detachment. Testimonies revealed that John had been the one who suggested hiring Richard, knowing full well his reputation for violence. He had reassured Joe, convincing him that the murder was the only solution to their problems. Their interactions were marked by a disturbing lack of empathy, a focus solely on their gain with no regard for the life that they planned to take. The gravity of the case called for exceptional legal expertise. The prosecution enlisted this attorney, Daniel Webster. Now, he is a famous attorney from this case. Like, I didn't know this.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay.
He's already at this time, he's one of the most renowned lawyers and statesmen of this time. And he's also known for being a very powerful litigator and having strong tactics and a sharp intellect, like in front of the judge and with the jury. Daniel Webster meticulously prepared for this case, understanding that the evidence was largely circumstantial. He needed to weave a compelling narrative that would leave no doubt in the minds of the jurors. This man is like the 19th century Johnny Cochran.
Okay.
Yeah, he did the glove would not fit, or glove did not fit, or what was that?
Yeah.
If
the glove don't fit, you must have quit. Yeah. I think he said doesn't, but I think a lot of people will be like,
glove doesn't fit, you must have quit.
quit. Yeah, I would say if the glove don't fit,
you must quit. Webster's closing arguments was the trial's climax, okay? Just like Johnny Cochran.
Yes.
Over the course of several hours, he delivered a speech that would become legendary in the legal circles. He spoke of the sanctity of life, the betrayal of a familial trust, and the moral duty of the jurors. He stated, and I have this quote from him, "Gentlemen, this case is full of circumstances leading directly to the guilt of those defendants. The evidence is woven together as a cord of many strands, each reinforcing the other. It's a fabric from which they cannot escape." Webster's words painted a vivid picture of premeditated murder, appealing to the jurors' sense of justice and morality. Webster's closing arguments would later be known as the White murder case speech. Richard committed suicide in his cell before the trial concluded, an act seen by many as an admission of guilt. The Knapp brothers were found guilty of first-degree murder based on the evidence of their confessions. They were executed by hanging in 1830. The murder and trial had profound effects on Salem and beyond. Once again, the town was faced with evil. The community grappled with the shock of such betrayal within one of its leading families. Legally, the trial showcased the effective use of circumstantial evidence that demonstrated the power of a skilled oral opening and closing arguments in a courtroom. Daniel Webster's argument influenced future legal practices and are still studied today in law school.
Cool.
Yeah. Joseph White's life and death left a complex legacy. He embodied the virtues of hard work, integrity, community engagement, and were highly valued during his time. The Gardner House is his former residence, and it is now an historic landmark and part of the Peabody Essex Museum. It stands as a reminder of Salem's rich history, both its achievements and its shadows. The murder of Captain Joseph White added another layer to Salem's already haunted reputation. The town, long associated with the witch trials and tales of the supernatural, now had a sensational murder that captivated a nation. Today, Salem embraces its macabre history, especially during Halloween. The streets come alive with festivities that draw thousands of visitors. Haunted houses, ghost tours, and reenactments pay homage to the town's storied past. Salem is famous for its rich history and association with the 1692 witch trials, as we all know, making it a popular destination for people seeking the paranormal. I created a list, and this is a list of my travels when I traveled to Salem on Halloween during the millennial. 2000. So the places that I visited The first one is the House of Seven Gables.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the House of Seven Gables is a historic mansion located in Salem, Massachusetts, built in 1668 by Captain John Turner. It's one of the oldest surviving wooden mansions in New England. The house gained literary fame through Nathaniel Hawthorne's 1851 novel, The House of Seven Gables.
Mm-hmm.
Hawthorne was born in Salem and was a relative of the original owners, which inspired his writing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went into this house, the one thing I could tell you is I'm 5'7".
Mm-hmm.
I had to kneel. Not kneel, but I had to duck my head down.
Really?
The ceilings are so low. So low.
I'd be fine.
You'd be fine. But like people, I guess, were shorter back then, or they just didn't have heels or whatever. But yes, very low.
Yeah.
Next one. The Salem Witch House. The only structure still standing in Salem with direct ties to the witch trials. Mm-hmm. It was once the home of Judge Jonathan Corwin. Guests have experienced eerie feelings and a strange occurrence outside. I took a tour in this house. Mm-hmm. Next one. The Hawthorne Hotel, the place that I stayed at.
Oh.
This opened in 1925. The hotel is rumored to be one of the most haunted places in Salem. Guests have reported flickering lights, unexplained noises, and apparitions in rooms 325 and 612, and I was on the 6th floor. I actually have a picture of the room 612.
Oh, I was going to say, did you stay in 612?
Can't. Especially on a Halloween.
Aww.
These 2 rooms are booked out for decades. They're booked out. Yeah. Like, okay. So I was there for Halloween. Halloween fell on like a Saturday that year or like closer to the weekend. And I had room rates. So I was there from maybe 4 days before Halloween.
Yeah.
So I had a room rate back then, 2000. My room was about $300 a night. And then on Halloween, it shot up to over 1,000.
Sure. Supply and demand, baby.
Yep. And in the Hawthorne Hotel, which sits right smack in the middle of, well, not kind of in the middle. I mean, the gallows are in the middle, but like it's a pretty large structure. Mm-hmm. They have a party every year for Halloween where the only way to get invited is you have to have lineage to the people from back then. And then also your costume has to be a period piece, meaning that it's got to be authentic. You cannot go to, what is that place called?
Spirit Halloween?
Spirit Halloween. You can't. That's what I did. But it's got to be authentic piece, and you have to have lineage to the families, the original families that were there. It's crazy. It's insane.
How do you prove that? Like, how do you, especially in 2000, I mean, there wasn't ancestry DNA like there is now. Like, how do you prove that?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess you have to be either recommended or I mean, they know who the original families are. They know if they're still, so I guess you have to prove who you are. Oh my God, you had to see these outfits. They're crazy. Not outfits. They were clothing from back then.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, number 4, St. Mary's Cemetery, known for ghostly sightings and mysterious lights, adding to Salem's haunted reputation. Okay, so the whole thing about Halloween night is that you go to St. Mary's Cemetery, they give you apple pie a la mode, and you go sit on a gravesite and you eat apple pie a la mode and you speak to the dead.
Did anything happen?
No, there were so many people. Like, it was so many people like sitting down.
Yeah. You needed Ghost Tube.
Yeah, that's what we needed. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the last one, which gave me the biggest scare, was the Gallows Hill. Traditionally thought to be the site of the executions, is now a park where people have reported paranormal experiences. Ooh. This is very depressing. So, like, when you're going down Gallows Hill, it's like a windy hill. And in it, you have like these benches, like these tombstones of all the people that were burned at the stake.
Oh my God.
Yeah, when you get to the center, you have the gallows, like you have the wooden structures shooting out of the ground of how they were tied up. And these structures are still standing. And that one area gave me the heebie-jeebies because you were literally stepping back in time. Yeah. It was that scary.
That's cool, though.
It is cool. So that is my story.
It's on my bucket list.
We gotta go.
What are some of the biggest? I know you said that some of them have like paranormal and, is there one that has like it's the most popular when it comes to
Salem?
Apparitions? Yeah.
I would say you need to go. The Hawthorne Hotel was built in 1925. So I think that's more of a tourist attraction. Sure. I would definitely go to the House of Seven Gables, definitely. That was built in 1668. And actually, the original residents of the House of Seven Gables were the women that got burnt, convicted of being witches. So that's another part of the story that Nathaniel wrote about, was that the original residents of that house were accused. So that is definitely some place that you want to bring your ghost tube. And then you want to go to St. Mary's Cemetery and Gallows
Mm-hmm.
Hill. I would be freaked out to see what the hell Ghost 2 picks up on in Gallows Hill.
Yes. So my friend and I, when we went to St. Augustine, we did that like around the lighthouse and then in the grounds and stuff too. And then we went to the keeper's house.
Right.
And there were a few things like here and there. I wish we'd have got on the lighthouse, but it was lightning that day. It was interesting. And there was a lot of people around too. So, they might have been a little shy because they don't always like people coming there, especially there was a large group. We had a pretty large group that day. It was July, so it was summertime.
Yeah, it's too hot for the ghosts.
It was hot too. It was hot.
Yeah, all right. Well, that is my spooky tale.
Yay! Well, actually, we're not too far off as far as timing. We're in the 1800s.
Well, yeah?
Yeah, for my story. It's called Stone's Public House in Ashland, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm. Never heard of it.
No, me either. It's 25 miles west of Boston, about 45 miles west-southwest of Salem. So it's not far.
Okay.
We could hit them all.
Yeah.
Girl. We could hit them all. Well, in 1832, a wealthy landowner by the name of John Stone built an inn by the path of a train that was being built in Ashland, Massachusetts, with the hopes of making some money, taking advantage of the travelers passing by its door.
Mm-hmm.
By 1834, the new Boston and Worcester Railroad ran right next to this newly built hotel, and it was called the Railroad House. But I also saw some other research called the Railroad Boarding House. Okay. So on September 20th, 1834 was the grand opening. The Railroad House opened to a very enthusiastic crowd. Some say it was about 300 people, and I think back then it was probably a pretty big crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Now, John Stone, he was born February 26th, 1779 in Windham, New York, to Abijah Stone, and his mother's name was Experience Stimson. Isn't that crazy? Her name was Experience.
That's a crazy first name.
Where did
that come from? I know, it's so different. I've never heard that before.
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, the Stones family, so John Stone, his father, originally from Massachusetts, even though he was born in New York. Huh. So as John got older, he left New York and went back to Massachusetts, moved to Hopkinton, where he married Nancy Stimson. Now, his mother's name was Stim, Stimson, and his wife was Stimpson.
Okay.
So Nancy was the daughter of a local physician, Jeremy Stimson. She was also the granddaughter of Colonel John Jones Jr.
Wait, that's his whole name? John Jones.
John Jones Jr. John Stone, he was a farmer and a businessman, and some say he was shrewd. Some say he was a very savvy businessman. He also served in the militia and rose to the rank of captain.
Wow.
The Stones had 7 children. I also saw at one point they said that he had 9, but we'll say 7 to 9 children. Okay. Record keeping back in that day, right? And lived at 175 Union Street in Unionville, Massachusetts. Unionville is now Ashland, Massachusetts, which is where we're at. They renamed it. And when I looked on Google, actually for the address, there was no 175 Union Street anymore. There was like 173 and like 179.
Oh, so the house doesn't stand, or they just changed the map?
They might have changed the map.
Okay.
They might have changed the map. It's possible. Then there was also a West Union Street, and I was like, well, let's see if it's West Union Street, I think it's probably still there somewhere. Yeah. Maybe not. I don't know. So Stone operated the Railroad House for less than 2 years. Instead of well-to-do travelers, as he had hoped, he started to cater to more of a middle to working class of the train travelers, many salesmen, people in need of a short-term stay. Stone leased the building in 1836 to his eldest son, Napoleon. Napoleon came with his family to the property, and then John Stone and his wife still lived on the property. Okay. John died on December 11th, 1858 at the age of 79, leaving the hotel to his family. The hotel was put back on the real estate market in 1868. A gentleman named William Scott bought the property, ran the hotel, kind of turned it into a saloon with his 3 sons. With the popularity of highway driving on the rise, fewer people rode trains. So the business kind of went in the slumps a little bit. It continued to be somewhat profitable because railroad workers and others spent their paychecks like on liquor. Yeah. This development changed the reputation from being a place for travelers and temporary tenants to a saloon for drinking, perhaps carousing a little bit to like let off steam, that kind of thing.
Right.
Now the Scotts, their lives didn't end well either.
Oh.
2 of the sons drank themselves to death, and the 3rd son wound up in a mental institution, eventually passing away.
That's terrible.
Following the death of his 3 sons and a fire in 1889 that decimated the most profitable part of the business, it was basically like a building back behind, and it had like, I don't know, like all these supplies and everything that was in it, livestock. A lot of it that fed into the saloon, and either way, it was completely gone. It was destroyed. William Scott also contracted malarial fever and became extremely delusional.
Oh boy.
He tried to kill himself several times, even telling people that he wanted to be with his sons, all 3 of his sons that had died, but each time something went wrong. On one occasion, Scott went to his bedroom, shot himself in the head, but the bullet just grazed him, so he shot himself again in the chest, unsuccessfully.
Oh boy.
After a 3rd shot that completely missed, a female working at the hotel heard the shots, came to his aid. Scott made a full recovery and lived 10 more years. Perhaps, some of the story goes the spirits of his sons or other residing spirits interfered. And eventually, William Scott died of natural causes. The business hung on as it was like a saloon, and it was also reportedly as a brothel at one point, kind of through the 1900s, but not much money was put into its maintenance. When it became too creaky, the property ended up being abandoned, and over the years it fell into disrepair. The man credited with helping it return to its former glory, his name was Leonard, he goes by Cappy, Fournier, who bought the building in 1976. Cappy is also the man who was credited with the first exploring of the paranormal side to this building. And the building's right here behind me in my background in the picture. It looks pretty cool.
It does look cool. It looks eerie.
I picked the spooky picture for the background. So Fournier opened his restaurant and a saloon under the name of Stone's Inn, knowing that it was John Stone that actually erected this building in its origination. The 2nd floor hotel rooms were renovated into banquet and event spaces to help bring in funds, which meant that some of the walls were taken down to create bigger spaces. Of course, back then, the rooms were like smaller. And it's believed that these renovations and changes activated the spirits that were residing there.
Ooh.
They were sleepy, and they woke up.
They were crashing the party.
They were. Now, today, the Stone is called the Stone's Public House. It's a family-friendly restaurant / Irish pub located at 179 Main Street in Ashland. Their website says the house prides itself on the rich history of fine food and drink, friendly service, camaraderie, and perhaps a whisper of spirits not to be found anywhere else. End quote. The 3rd floor is an attic and still has the original wallpaper. It has no modern electricity, and currently it's used for storage. The rooms up there, again, are smaller, and you can tell that they were probably used as what was called flop rooms for business travelers. So just they would flop down, fall asleep, pass out, whatever. Just use it for a place to lay their head for the night. It also has the original floors. Has wood paneling, beautiful fireplaces, and replicas of wooden tables and chairs, and then a bar that reflects its history, which altogether, if you take a step back in time into like the 18th, 19th century of like when it was created, like that's the whole intention of creating the atmosphere that it is right now. The current owners and staff accept the residing spirits and tolerate all of their activity, letting the spirits be themselves as they are not really known to be harmful. Sometimes cups seem to fly, ghostly images seem to appear, doors open, glasses break, and lights seem to turn on and off randomly. There are also theories that Stone's Public House is very, very haunted.
Okay.
I'm going to give you a lot of examples.
Okay.
A child's dress, white with red stains, is said to be a relic of a tragedy. The dress is currently in the owner's possession, carefully placed in a shadow box frame. It belonged to a little girl named Mary Smith. She was 10 years old when she died in 1863. I also saw some resources saying 1862, but either way, 1862, 1863.
Okay.
Not only does the dress remain, but so does Mary's spirit. Hostess, Carol Sullivan, claims that sometimes she hears Mary running around on the 2nd floor. And again, this is a restaurant. The 1st floor is a restaurant. Running around the 2nd floor has also been heard by dinner guests. They would ask Carol, the hostess, who's up there? And she answered, quote, "It's probably Mary running around," end quote.
Aww.
When they're like, hey, who was Mary? Carol answered, Mary was a ghost, a little girl. This ghost lore tale reveals that she could be heard running around, giggling, bouncing a ball, and looking out of a second-floor window at Stone's public house. Quote, as the story goes, she got struck by a train. They brought her into the building where she passed away, end quote. And this was according to the current general manager, James Ward.
Right.
Genealogist Lisa Healy Miller confirmed that Mary Smith was in fact real, and that, sadly, she was killed by a railroad train in Ashland on June 11th, 1863, at the age of 10. Her bloody dress was taken to the attic where it remained for over 100 years, like, untouched.
That's so freaky. Okay.
I know. Oof. So, in like the 1980s, 90s, a waitress was in the storage space on the third floor, and she noticed a crumpled up white cloth. The waitress discovered that the cloth was a child's dress. It had red stains on it. She removed the dress from its location, which appeared to open up a Pandora's box of supernatural mayhem at Stone's public house. Only when the garment was put back did things kind of calm down a little. So they put it back in the attic, and then, like I was saying, the current owner has it in a shadow box, like picture frame.
Yeah.
But it's still in the attic. They won't move it.
Leave it alone.
They keep it in the attic. In 1984, a number of psychics and mystics poured throughout the 152-old inn, sniffing out spirits after Cappy Fournier went public about strange events within the building that started in 1979 after he purchased it. He said each one's stories of the visitors that came, the psychics, the paranormal, their stories kind of varied from one spectrum to the next, but one thing that they kept in common. Quote, when I brought them to the upstairs function room, they all felt the strangest feelings in the back half of the room. Every single one said the same thing in that upstairs room. That's what made me a believer.
Wow.
End quote.
Yeah.
The second floor was often home to late-night card games in the John Stone days. Poker games that at one point did turn deadly. The legend goes that one dark and stormy night, John Stone and a group of men were playing poker. One of the men was caught cheating, resulting in a fight. John Stone allegedly murdered the card shark and had help from the other men that were in the room. I saw some sources say it was like 6 or 7 men, and then I saw another source say it was only 3 men. There were other people that allegedly had helped John Stone. Because gambling was illegal at the time, there were no news articles, there were no death certificates to confirm what happened and who it was, right?
Right.
Other renditions of the story that can be heard don't include John Stone being there or murdering this card shark. And historians claim that John Stone was a practicing Baptist and would likely never have engaged in a game of cards, yet alone gambling. So, I don't know. The current general manager, James Ward, said, quote, everybody talks about the possibility of the guy being buried in the basement because of its dirt floor. And that's quite possible.
Yeah.
Who knows? End quote.
Yeah.
Now, this story about the kind of the brawl on the second floor during this poker game, it came about in 1984. When Ralph Bibbo, B-I-B-B-O, Bibbo, I kept wanting to say Bilbo, like dildo,
Me
but
too.
I don't know why. Ralph Bibbo, a professional hypnotist and founder of the Education Concerning a Higher Order, ECHO, Echo, he visited the inn while it was owned by Cappy Fournier. And after speaking to several of the spirits there, including a chambermaid named Sadie, Ralph Bibbo said that he was told that John Stone killed a New York boarder, only known as Michael, in 1845 after John Stone accused the visitor of cheating in a card game where John Stone lost $3,000. Now that is actually almost $125,000 today.
Okay. So it's making sense now why somebody would kill.
Yeah.
Okay. Like that.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. $125,000.
Yeah.
It's a little chunk of change. After John Stone accused the man of cheating, a fight ensued wherein John Stone hit the man over the head with the butt of his gun, and apparently this Michael salesman guy fell dead instantly when he hit the floor. Suddenly, Stone knew that he had to act quickly to protect the reputation of the inn and his own family.
Yeah.
Bibbo also said that 6 or 7 of the persons who witnessed the murder subsequently had helped Stone bury the body in the basement, but they were all bound to secrecy. Like, this man was here, he was a traveler, he was from New York, he was passing through, nobody's gonna know he's gone, so they just buried him in the basement. Bibbo, when he was there in 1984, did hold one videotape session. John Stone allegedly, reluctantly, entered the body of one of his Echo members, Terry Pendleton, and angrily told the crowd watching the session to, quote, "Get out of here! I want you off my premises!" End quote. I don't know about that. Yeah. Seems fishy.
Yeah.
During Cappy Fournier's ownership, all the visiting psychics perceived that there were more than one spirit there. Most of them were sullen male phantoms. One psychic, Lee Sonnenfeld, had the same particular sensation. A drunkard named Bert Phillips was also killed by a train in 1890 after he left the tavern, wandered onto the tracks in a drunken stupor. The apparition of this man is said to linger because he enjoys the atmosphere, current day, as well as enjoys playing pranks on the employees and guests. This entity is said to be responsible for turning the water on and off on the faucets, tapping frightened visitors on the shoulder, holding employees' hands under the ice when they're attempting to fill, like, ice buckets, and they, like holds their hands under the ice. Also in the mid-1980s, Ashland police officer Joe Magnani and his partner Steve Zanella, they were called out to Stone's public house in the middle of the night, and at this time it was actually called John Stone Inn. They were called out in the middle of the night when the door was discovered open in the back of the establishment. After they went in, cleared the first floor, they made their way to the second floor. Both of them kind of had an eerie feeling. They heard some strange noises, but attributed it to being that it was like 150 years old at this time, right? It was an old building. When they reached the third floor, their opinions changed.
Ooh.
Magnani said, quote, "We opened up one of the doors and Steve jumped back and I asked, 'Steve, what's wrong?' He goes, 'You don't see her?' I said, 'See who?'" End quote. Zanella likely saw the ghost of Mary Smith. And as they left the building, Magnani looked back at the building. Like, they were outside, and he looked back at the building, and he goes, "Steve, there she is. She's standing in the second floor window looking down at them." Ooh. I believe that.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that part of it. The whole taking over the body thing, I don't know about that, because they're part of the same organization, sensationalism, whatever. Now, a portrait of Captain John Stone hangs over one of the fireplaces, and most claim that Stone is one of the ghosts that still haunts the establishment. Employees and customers report the feeling of being watched when they stand near his picture. His spirit is thought to be responsible for putting his icy hands around throats of his employees and patrons, throwing glassware through the air, knocking items off shelves, and causing $10 bills to appear in the tip jars. And then there's also a smell of cigar smoke lingering, although no one inside is smoking. Which, when we went to St. Augustine with the ghost tour, we went to, like, places that were, haunted or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, granted, you could smoke inside, but that was one of the things of, like, this female's perfume that a lot of people smell. I mean, all you could really smell was, like, cigarette and cigars and that kind of thing. But there was one time I did get, like, this whiff.
Really?
I don't have a good sniffer. So I was like, was that me? Like, did I smell, like...
Right.
My hand or something, But that's also one thing that is known for, like, apparitions. You can have some of those same smells. There are also other stories of the patrons of Stone's public house, some which unknowingly also have recorded audio evidence.
Ooh.
Now, for instance, a group of friends go out. They go to the bar, have some drinks, have dinner, record their good times on a good old cell phone. In one instance, it wasn't until the person replayed that clip later that they heard a voice who was not part of their group. And it said, quote, "Leave," and, quote, "My name is John Stone," end quote. Staff members indicated they have found tips left at the bar after closing. Some employees found tools that have been moved only to find them in a different location, such as in, like, the middle of the room or on a floor.
Right.
Or the middle of a hallway where they never went and wouldn't have left that tool. One former bartender, Jim Termizian, nailed it. He worked a long shift. And after 2 a.m., he and only then-owner, Marty Northover, were left in the building. Jim said, quote, "She was upstairs in her office, and I was on the first floor at the end of the bar. I went into the back to change my shirt and left the door open. As I take my shirt off, I hear a voice. I can't tell you what they said. I couldn't even tell you if it was male or female, but it was a young kid. I stopped what I was doing and came to the door, came out to the main bar and said, Marty, because I thought that maybe she had come. Maybe she came down and said, Jim, or something like that. But she wasn't even here. She was still upstairs. So I went back and continued to put my shirt on, and I heard another voice. It was an older voice. I was pretty positive it was a woman. I don't know if any women spirits are in this place, but there again, it was one word. I couldn't tell you what it was. I heard 2 different voices that day, end quote.
Interesting.
I believe that. Too. I believe. Yeah. A former kitchen employee, Scott Campbell, also experienced 2 instances within his first year working at John Stone's Inn. Again, then it was called John Stone's Inn. It's called Stone's Public House now. Scott Campbell said, quote, there was a glass bottle of malt vinegar on the top of the fridge. There was no one over there by the refrigerator, and the 3 of us were on the side of the kitchen. All of a sudden, we heard a large crash. We were surprised and didn't know what was going on, so we go over there and we see the bottle of malt vinegar on the ground. We said, what the heck? You mean it's not broken? Something fell 6 feet from the top of the refrigerator down, should definitely have been broken. Yeah. It was very thick glass, end quote. And then the second thing he said was, quote, another time someone tapped me on the back and I turned around and no one was there, end quote. One restaurant employee, Matthew Shapiro, also witnessed some unexplained occurrences. One morning, when they were opening, he said they found fingerprints of a little girl on a mirror on the 2nd floor. He said, quote, it was much too high for a child to reach. Sometimes we could come in from a night where no one was in here, and we would come in the next day and there were baby handprints all over the mirror. That was probably the creepiest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's very, very Blair Witch creepy.
Yeah. Then about 10 years ago, Cliff Wilson, he was president of the Ashland Historical Society. He was interviewing a man who had come to town who wanted to write a book about Stone's Public House. They sat at the restaurant's bar, and Cliff Wilson recorded the 2-hour interview to listen to it later. When he got home, he did listen to the recording. The interview between Wilson and the author couldn't be heard. All you heard was the bar chatter. However, at one point in the recording, Wilson clearly heard someone say, quote, Titty ran. T-I-D-D-Y, not titty. Titty.
Okay.
Like P. Diddy.
Okay.
Titty ran. He didn't make it. End quote. Wilson said that no one grabbed the recording because it was sitting in front of them, right? No one grabbed it. No one talked into it. He never recalled anybody saying those words during this 2-hour interview. The noises and mysterious messages were confirmed to have been on that recording. Wilson did some of his own research and found out there was a man named George Gordon Tidsbury, who was a deputy sheriff in Ashland, but that was it, nothing else. And I did a little research myself.
Yeah.
I went to my newspapers.com, searched 18 whatever, and I looked into the newspapers and saw the same information. It basically confirmed that he was a deputy sheriff, and I was not able to find anything related to his death.
Yeah, oh, okay.
Or that if he was called Titty. But I can see that, like Tidsbury, Titty, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
And a lot of the newspapers, too, there's probably only like 5 or 6. They didn't say George Gordon Tidsbury. It was just George G. Tidsbury or George Tidsbury.
Okay.
Now, there are some other ghosts that have been passing through the basement area. The building also has been said to have been a stop on the Underground Railroad.
Oh.
Some exploration has exposed a secret room, a place that could have been used to hide slaves on their way to freedom into Canada. It is quite possible that someone didn't make it out of the basement, dying of injuries or diseases, and they could have been buried under the dirt floor, although no skeletons have ever been found.
Yeah.
In 2009, David Francis, a paranormal researcher who considers himself to be pretty skeptical when it comes to the paranormal, he conducted an investigation with 2 paranormal research teams from Rhode Island. He has since been back a few times to Stone's Public House to do his own research. Francis said that he has had some strange experiences being there, including 2 instances of electronic voice phenomena, EVP, or the presence of voices that can be heard on an audio recording but are not audible in person.
Right.
With all the stories flying around, like Witches in the Night, Stone's Public House also found itself on the Discovery Channel's Ghost Lab, Season 1, Episode 3, on Ghost Hunters, also, weirdly, Season 1, Episode 3. It was also the topic of a 2020 paranormal true crime podcast called Sour, Sweet, and Spooky. I was like, I love that.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's cute.
This premiered the Stone Public House as their first episode. They covered it. Many paranormal enthusiasts frequent this restaurant, and they pay to go and investigate, giving unhappy spirits a chance to share their happenings through the EVP recordings, but apparently, only the spirit of John Stone dislikes ghost hunters, but he remembers his manners and orders them out in a nice but firm manner. And that is my story of Stone's Public House.
Very interesting. Love it. I love that he treats the workers good. He's always tipping them.
Yeah.
He's stealing money, leaving them tips.
Yeah.
So he doesn't
taps people on the shoulders like
yeah.
We're gonna play some pranks or whatever. That Bert Phillips, the one that in a drunken stupor walked out and got hit by a train also.
Yeah.
He likes to play pranks. He likes the atmosphere and that kind of thing. And I think John appreciates the fact that his building is still there. Now, one thing that I did read is it is not a National Historic Landmark because during the renovations, when apparently the spirits were awoken, like Cappy Fortnier bought the property and did renovations and stuff and woke up all these spirits, they made too much change to the structure. So it's not a historic landmark.
All right.
However, some of the original flooring, some of the original wallpaper that's on the third floor in the attic, where all the storage spaces.
Yeah.
So I watched some videos and stuff, like some news clips and stuff on it too. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. That's a cool looking house. I totally forgot to point out the House of Seven Gables is behind me. And the crazy thing is, that's a huge fucking house. I mean, the house behind me was built in 1668. Yeah. Look how fucking big that is.
Big.
Right?
Was it used for this building was built as a hotel. It was intentionally built.
Okay.
Yeah, because the railroad was coming through.
Right.
John Stone was he was a profitable landowner. He owned a lot of the land that's actually known as Ashland today, including the downtown area. There's a park named after him. It's called Stone's Park. Back then, when it was called Unionsville, they were building the railroad and that went right through his property that he owned. And he's like, I'm going to make a profit off of this. I'm going to build an inn, the railroad house, the railroad boarding house, that basically is I'm going to make a profit off of this. People want to come and they see, ooh, bring some money into the town. Yeah. Apparently a savvy businessman, but it turned out to be, once the roads started going in, people were driving more and that kind of thing. It just kind of turned into
Right. Do you think there are bodies buried in the dirt floor in the basement? I think so.
Absolutely possible, yeah.
It's
still a dirt floor today.
Yeah.
One of the clips that I saw was the manager, Ward, was taking a news crew that went down into the basement.
Right.
It's still a dirt floor today. Even though apparently people have gone and said if it was linked to the Underground Railroad and that kind of thing, and it's possible people had died there, maybe,
Right.
But they hadn't found any skeletons. It doesn't mean they're not there.
No, it doesn't. Wow.
So.
Interesting. Oh my God, that's spooky. We got to visit these places. Well, I've been here, but I gotta check that place out.
And it's not far, an hour drive.
Were you?
No, from Salem.
Oh, when we go to Salem. Okay.
Salem to Ashland. We can do it in one trip. That's what I'm saying.
We can. All right.
Yeah.
That was good. Okay, that was a good story. I love the unknown. I love it.
Yes.
Nothing's
crazy. And you're going to get more of the unknown all season long, chatter. So you don't want to miss it.
Yes, and if you have some information about the two stories that we just went over, your own experience, if you visited these sites, let us know. We want to know.
Yes.
Well, because I want to leave you hanging, chatter, guess what? For more information, you got to check out After That Crime Chat.
Yes.
Only available on our Patreon.
And don't forget to follow us, Crime Chat with Nat and Count, on our Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, X, formerly known as Twitter. See what we got going on. If you haven't seen it, we did post some things in October that we are to kind of keep you in the loop of what's going on.
Yeah.
So you might want to go back and check those out.
Yes, and we are also going to post some of our past episodes during those fourth Saturdays in a month, right?
Yeah.
Remember, Crime Chat with Nat and Kat. Become a VIP chatter to our Patreon. You'll have access to bonus episodes, behind the scenes, bloopers, and free merch. And check out some merch in the works.
Yes, be sure to check out our next episode. We are going to be talking about actually a child murder. Still unsolved.
Yeah, you don't want to miss it. Now you're breaking my heart. Okay.
Now you don't want to miss it? ? But we'll see you on the next Crime Chat.